Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Bharat. Coming up in the next hour. In a turn of tide, Democrats win it big in key US polls post Donald Trump's second term. Trump pins blame on government shutdown that has entered its 36th day. Drone sightings impacting travel across European countries, resulting in closing down of airports and flight departures. Global markets face headwinds after a steep sell-off as market volatility surges. After tech-led sell-off on Wall Street, heightened concerns over stretched valuations, particularly of the AI stocks. Bharat immerses in Guru Nanak Jayanti and Dev Deepavali celebrations with devotion and reverence. PM Modi extends greetings on the auspicious day. A political earthquake in America as Democrats pull off a stunning trio of victories in the first major elections since Donald Trump's return to the White House. From the streets of New York City to the state houses of Virginia and New Jersey, voters delivered a loud and unmistakable message. Change is in the air. Aarti Rana has this report.
Wednesday brought in an entirely new political narrative for the Americans. Democratic candidates romping home in style, inflicting serious political damage to the grand old party. 2 states voted to choose women Democratic governors. In Virginia, history was made as Abigail Spanberger became the first woman to lead the state. The former CIA officer and moderate Democrat unseated Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, restoring the governor's mansion to Democratic hands.
My fellow Virginians, tonight we sent a message. We sent a message to every corner of the Commonwealth. A message to our neighbors and our fellow Americans across the country. We sent a message to the whole world that in 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship. We chose our Commonwealth over chaos. Leadership that will focus on problem solving, not stoking division. We chose leadership that will always put Virginia first.
In New Jersey, Democrat Mickey Sherrill prevailed in a fiercely fought race against Republican Jack Ciattarelli, continuing her party's winning streak in what became the most expensive governor's race in the state's history.
We see how clearly important liberty is. We know that no one in our great state is safe when our neighbors are targeted, ignoring the law and the Constitution. But prosperity is equally essential. Liberty alone is not enough if the government makes it impossible for you to feed your family, to get a good education, or to get a good job. So in this country, that shouldn't be too much to ask. But right now, all of it seems at risk. Governors have never mattered more.
But perhaps no election caught the fancy of the US and the world other than that of mayoral fight for the New York City. 34-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani has been elected mayor of the New York City, defeating political heavyweight Andrew Cuomo and defying fierce attacks from conservatives and even President Trump himself. Trump has labeled Mamdani a communist and vowed to cut funding for the city in response to his ascension. Adding to the misery of the grand old party was the decisive mandate given by the California voters to redraw its electoral districts. Interestingly, in California, voters approved a ballot measure to allow the state to redraw its voting district maps to make a handful of congressional seats more favorable to Democrats in the 2026 midterm elections. Another blow to Donald Trump. The effort was spearheaded by California Governor Gavin Newsom, who is considering a White House run in 2028. President Trump, meanwhile, refused to shoulder any blame for the losses, posting on Truth Social that pollsters, not policies, were to blame. The sweep gives Democrats a powerful boost heading into next year's high stakes midterm elections, where control of the Congress will once again hang in balance. With Aarti Rana, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us live. Hi, Akshay. What does this victory mean for the entire country as a whole, Akshay, and separately for Democrats and Republicans?
Well, there is a wind of change in the United States and the politics that has been going on for at least 1 year. Ever since Donald Trump has been elected as the for the second term, we have seen the kind of unilateral policies that have been pushed down the people, from immigration laws to deployment of national guards to different states, to the policies on H-1B visa, immigrant policies, to even tariffs that have been implemented at the whims and fancies of a few people there at the top in the government, including US President Donald Trump. For example, the advertisement that was being run in Canada attracted 10% additional tariffs just because Donald Trump did not like it, because he thought that the message that is being given through an advertisement in Canada was not pro his government and it was anti-Trump administration. So he just slapped a 10% tariff. That is just one example. There are several such examples from Canada to India where 50% tariffs were implemented on Indian imports just because Trump accused India of buying Russian oil. Despite the fact that China is the biggest buyer, importer of that same oil, but a lesser tariff was implemented. So all of these policies, that were done not at logic, not at the basis of diplomacy, but at the basis of choice and perception of one man, were really putting a question mark on the leadership of the US government, especially under the Republican Party. And that is why what we are seeing is a wind of change. Now, 3 Democrat victories in a single day, and that is going to be a big setback for the upcoming midterm election that will be taking place in 2026. The perception of the public, the perception of the Trump administration is extremely changing in an extremely rapid pace. So really it seems like a good time for the Republican Party to set its priorities right, to look and introspect that where have they been going wrong, that within 9 to 10 months there is such a rapid change that from choosing a Republican president to losing 3 consecutive elections, especially in Virginia, that is considered a red state. There has to be an introspection at the top level.
Definitely, Akshay. Trouble mounts for Donald Trump indeed. But how do you assess this win for the Democrats, if I say, and like you just mentioned, that it's a change of wind. People's mindset, their choices are also changing. How do you assess that?
Well, the kind of identity politics that had started in the US, the kind of white nationalist, supremacist ideologies that were going around and not being challenged by the government, really cornered a lot of people, who were liberals, who did not want identity politics to take place in a country like the US that calls itself the oldest democracy in the world, that was targeting people on the basis of their color of their skin, or basis of their race, religion, and on the status of their immigration to the US. So all of these things combined have really helped the Democrat Party gather a lot of momentum, gather a lot of support from the common American people, and even it's not just the societal issues, it's also the economical issues such as rising cost of basic things that is increasing because of the kind of tariffs that have been put in place. All of these things combined have really given a push to the dwindling support base of Democrat Party, and it seems like there is a point of revival, but they have to continue on this momentum if they want to bring a change in the midterm election that is going to be their ticket to the House of Representatives.
Definitely. Akshay, the central theme of campaigning in these elections was affordability, something the Americans always wanted. Now, what is your take, when it comes to tough times for Donald Trump and Republicans as well?
Well, speeches, words and rhetorics are not going to help people survive. That's not going to help people keep their families afloat, especially at a time when the government is in a complete shutdown. That can also be a major issue, a major reason behind these three losses for the Republican Party and the party candidates, because the kind of shutdown has impacted federal employees, it has impacted,
and it has broken the record, moreover, on top of everything.
Absolutely. Akshay. Absolutely, you're right. It has broken the record, and the kind of support people have given to Zohran Mamdani and other Democrat candidates clearly is going to be a big message to Donald Trump that his tantrums are not going to win him elections. It is going to be his policies and his decisions that is going to help the people of America, and not a Nobel Peace Prize that is going to help his popularity and let him win elections.
Okay, Akshay, very quickly before we let you go. Yeah. Do you think that had there been some other candidates on the same position, the result would have been the same? The candidates didn't matter much because it's the people's perception. They actually wanted a change. So how much did the candidates matter?
Well, to great extent, yes. It was it was not so much in support of Zohran Mamdani. It was against the policies of the Trump administration, about his policies that have pushed people to a corner. People were there were people wearing T-shirts that MAGA for Mamdani. That means that even the most hardcore supporter base of Donald Trump.
And it also means, Akshay, that MAGA has taken a hit.
MAGA definitely has taken a hit. They are being questioned that, and even there are questions, introspection amongst the MAGA fan base that they fought for Epstein files that have not still been released.
Right.
That was the big issue there. Other issues such as affordability. The Republican Party fought elections, presidential elections on also the issue of egg prices. The egg prices are going up. That was a symbolic thing, that the grocery prices are going up. That were not helped, and all the focus has been on tariffs, on diplomacy, on how to project Donald Trump as the world leader, as somebody who has stopped so many wars. He keeps on counting number of wars and asking for the Nobel Peace Prize. So all of these things have really led to a question mark on the MAGA ideology as a whole. And it seems that if this thing continues, then it is going to be a difficult time for Donald Trump and the Republican Party in next year. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy has questioned the identity politics that has been started by the Republican politicians as well as the support base, stating that that was something that was done by the far left. It is not something that was done by the Republican Party, and Republican Party should rise above the identity politics if they don't want to take another hit in the upcoming election.
Definitely, and it's a clear message and also a shocking result ahead of the midterm elections as well, Akshay.
Yes, absolutely. It is going to be a difficult time for the Republican Party to turn this thing around now from this point onwards.
Right.
And it is going to be a challenge, of course.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much. We leave it there. The US Supreme Court will hear arguments on Wednesday in a pair of challenges to President Donald Trump's power to impose sweeping tariffs on virtually all goods imported into the United States. The hearing marks the beginning of what could be the biggest battle yet in Trump's trade war, as the Supreme Court considers whether his use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose duties was constitutional. Whereas businesses and 12 US states have challenged the tariffs. They argue that Trump overstepped his constitutional authority, noting that the power to levy taxes and tariffs traditionally lies with Congress. 3 lower courts have already ruled against the administration, finding that IEEPA does not explicitly grant the president the power to impose tariffs. Trump has defended the administration's use of tariffs to balance global trade flows, citing years of high duties charged by other countries on US imports. He argued that his tariff had increased US revenues and driven the stock markets to a series of record highs. After hearing arguments on Wednesday, the Supreme Court will have until June to make a decision, following a rigorous process of arguments and discussions on the case's merits. This will be followed by a vote. Trump called the Supreme Court hearing a matter of life or death for the United States. Trump, in a social media post, said that a favorable ruling would secure tremendous but fair financial and national security. He further said, and I quote, Without it, we are virtually defenseless against other countries who have for years taken advantage of us. Trump added that stock market is consistently hitting record highs and the US has never been more respected than it is right now. He also said a big part of this is the economic security created by tariffs and the deals that we have negotiated because of them. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Tuesday expressed confidence in the administration's legal arguments regarding President Trump's tariff policies, emphasizing their necessity for national security and economic leverage.
The White House is always preparing for Plan B. It would be imprudent of the president's advisors not to prepare for such a situation. With that said, we are 100% confident in the president and his team's legal arguments in the merits of the law in this case. And we remain optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing. The importance of this case cannot be overstated. The president must have the emergency authority to utilize tariffs.
China has announced a partial rollback of tariffs on US imports, signaling a tentative easing in ongoing trade tensions. Beijing will suspend for 1 year the additional 24% duties imposed in April on American goods, though a 10% tariff from the same retaliation package will remain in place. Meanwhile, the State Council's Tariff Commission confirmed it will also scrap duties of up to 15% on select US agricultural products beginning November 10. These measures tie back to steps outlined in a March directive aimed at safeguarding China's interests after Washington's so-called Liberation Day tariffs introduced by US President Trump. However, the relief falls short for key commodities like soybeans. Chinese buyers will still face a 13% tariff, keeping US supplies costlier than Brazil alternatives. The US government shutdown entered its 36th day on Wednesday, surpassing a record set during President Donald Trump's first term in 2019 to become the longest in American history, as his administration warned of potential chaos at airports going into one of the busiest travel periods of the year. The government has been grinding to a halt since Congress failed to approve the funding past September 30th, and pain has been mounting as welfare programs, including aid that helps millions of Americans afford groceries, hangs in limbo. About 1.4 million federal workers, from air traffic controllers to park wardens, have been placed on enforced leave without pay or made to work for nothing. The Trump administration sounded the alarm Tuesday over turmoil at airports nationwide, worsening staff shortages, snarling airport lines, and closing down sections of airspace. More than 60,000 air traffic controllers and Transportation Security Administration officers are working without pay. Thanksgiving air travel is expecting to set a new record this year. White House warns that increasing absenteeism could mean chaos at check-in lines. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is in Auckland. What's on the agenda? Stay with us to know more. And know about WaterSense, an AI-powered invention to monitor river health in real time. A cargo plane of United Parcel Service crashed and exploded in a massive ball of fire.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we decode Astra Mark II, why it is India's next generation air dominance weapon, what makes this missile a true game changer. We analyze the force multiplier in the sky, India's mid-air refueling aircraft, and their critical role in sustaining air power. Finally, the infantry soldier gets a much-awaited close-quarter battle carbine, which is compact, precise, and built for decisive close combat. We decode the Army Chief's words, preparing for the unknown. What does it reveal about India's evolving war-fighting mindset? Catch the sharpest analysis of strategy, firepower, and future warfare this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD in the News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal arrived in Auckland for high-level discussions with New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment Todd McClay as both nations review progress on a proposed free trade agreement. At a special event, the two ministers reflected on the growing momentum in India and New Zealand relations. Over the past 2 years, trade and investment between the two countries have seen a notable uptick, laying the groundwork for deeper economic cooperation. India is going beyond tariffs and looking at newer ways to expand the India-New Zealand relationship in FTA negotiations.
As we desire our economy to grow, our people to have a better quality of life, a better future for their children, I think friendship and trade and partnership with countries like New Zealand will help our people aspire big, will help our people meet the needs of New Zealand, as well as provide opportunities for our people in terms of business, jobs, capability to learn about better and higher productivity farming back home in India. So we've been trying to, in this trade negotiation, go beyond the traditional tariff negotiations or reduction in tariff to newer ways to expand this relationship.
Meanwhile, New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment, Todd McClay, said the agreement aims to significantly increase exports to India, foster two-way trade and enhance people-to-people links through education and direct foreign investment.
We've found ways for India and New Zealand to work more closely together in defence and security, around aviation, those people-to-people links. I want more young New Zealanders to go to India to learn and to be involved in education. And we want more young Indians to come here to get their education, to get some experience of the world and take it back to help India grow. We want a lot more direct foreign investment in New Zealand, but we also want New Zealanders to go and partner and invest in India.
In Bosnia, 10 people were killed and around 20 were injured in a fire that broke out in a nursing home in the town of Tuzla on late Tuesday. Police patrols, firefighters and emergency medical services were quickly dispatched to evacuate and care for residents. As per the reports, several patients were treated for carbon monoxide poisoning. The chairman of Bosnia's tripartite presidency, Jelko Komšić, offered condolences to the families of the victims and wished a quick recovery to those injured. A cargo plane of United Parcel Service crashed and exploded in a massive ball of fire shortly after takeoff in Kentucky in United States on Tuesday, killing at least 7 people and injuring 11 others on the ground. According to officials, flames from the crash, which occurred shortly before sundown, ignited a string of fires on the ground in an industrial corridor adjacent to the airport, forcing authorities to halt airport operations through the night. Meanwhile, Louisville mayor said 4 fatalities were confirmed on the ground and the injured had been taken to hospital.
There were 3 crew members on the plane. The 4 that we have confirmed dead are not on the plane. Again, we believe it will be 7 that we're aware of at this time. And as you heard from Chief O'Neill, there'll be others that are searching there. So that is consistent with what we believe. There are more than 100 firefighters on the scene from across the region that are still here, that are working to make it safe for everyone in our community, as well as that are searching for additional victims.
The death toll from Typhoon Kalmaigi in the Philippines has climbed past 90. Cebu province remains the hardest hit, with dozens confirmed dead after severe flooding. Typhoon Kalmaigi has killed more than 90 people in the Philippines, following the worst flooding in the recent memory. Drone footage captured along the riverside in Talisay City showed damaged houses made out of light materials caked in mud after the river overflowed. The Cebu province experienced the most significant impact, as 35 bodies had been recovered from one flooded coastal town, bringing the provincial toll to 76. The National Civil Defence Office confirmed at least 17 deaths from other provinces, and authorities continue rescue and recovery efforts across flood-hit regions. Kalmaigi continued to batter parts of Palawan Island as it headed towards the South China Sea. This storm is moving towards Vietnam, where preparations are underway ahead of its expected landfall on Friday. Belgium's Brussels and Liège airports were closed on Tuesday evening after drone sightings, diverting many incoming planes and preventing others from taking off. A spokesperson of Belgian Air Traffic Control Service confirmed shortly before 1900 GMT a drone was seen near Brussels airport, which was then closed as a security precaution. Belgium's busiest airport reopened after 2 hours of disruption, but it was closed again after more drone sightings. It was unclear when flights would resume. National carrier Brussels Airlines said 15 outbound flights were unable to take off, while 8 incoming flights were diverted to other airports. The incidents followed drones seen over a Belgian military airbase during the weekend. Defense Minister Theo Franken told Tuesday's incident appeared to be carried out by professionals intent on destabilizing the country. Let's now take a look at instances where European air travel has been disrupted by drone sightings. On September 22, 2025, Copenhagen Airport, the Nordic region's busiest, was shut after drone sightings. 5 smaller Danish airports were also closed temporarily. Later that day, Oslo Airport diverted flights and shut its airspace following a drone observation. On 23rd of September, Denmark's Prime Minister called the Copenhagen drone incident the most severe attack on related disruptions across Europe. Updates from West Asia now. Israel confirmed on Wednesday that remains handed over by Hamas late on Tuesday belonged to an Israeli-American national seized by Hamas during the October 7, 2023 attack. The Prime Minister's office in a statement said that remains was identified on Wednesday as 19-year-old Staff Sergeant Italy Chen in the Israeli Forensic Institute in Tel Aviv. 19-year-old Chen, a dual U.S. citizen, served as a combat soldier in the 77th Battalion of the 7th Brigade. According to the information and intelligence available to the Israeli army, he fell during combat in a tank in the battle in Kibbutz on the morning of October 7, 2023, and his body was taken by Hamas. The handover was part of a U.S.-mediated deal under which Hamas is still to release 7 more bodies of hostages it's been holding in the Gaza for over 2 years now. The terms of the truce in effect since October 10 require the return of all hostages, living and dead. In U.S. opening arguments will begin in Chicago on Wednesday in the first civil trial against U.S. aviation giant Boeing over the 2019 crash of an Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX aircraft, which killed 157 people. The 8-person jury that was picked will be hearing the case concerning the March 10, 2019 Ethiopian Airlines flight that went down 6 minutes after departing Addis Ababa for Nairobi, killing all on board. The 2 principal plaintiffs in the trial are the families of Shikha Garg of New Delhi and Mercy and Devo of Kenya. Each side will have 90 minutes on Wednesday to present its case. The company has accepted its fault and settled most of the dozens of lawsuits by families of victims in the 6 years after the MAX jetliner crashed. Brazilian President Lula da Silva said on Tuesday that he will discuss Venezuela's issues and the increased U.S. military presence in Latin America at the Selloff summit later this month, and may also call his U.S. counterpart Trump again if talks between their countries do not progress by the end of COP30, the United Nations Climate Conference Brazil is hosting this month. Lula and Trump met in Malaysia in October, seeking to overcome tensions between Brazil and the United States after Trump increased tariffs on U.S. imports of most Brazilian goods to 50% from 10% in August.
After finishing the meeting with President Trump, I told him it was essential that our negotiators start talking soon. I suggested it be that same night. I told President Trump in no uncertain terms and gave him my message in writing, because words can be easily forgotten. So I put it in writing. We want him to drop the sanctions against our Supreme Court justices, and we want the tariffs to be zeroed out so that we can start negotiation from scratch.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Tuesday that unilateral U.S. military action inside Mexico won't happen even as the U.S. has ramped up its military efforts, including fatal strikes in Latin America in recent months. Sheinbaum has repeatedly rejected unilateral U.S. military action inside Mexico, including U.S. President's offers to send U.S. troops to help fight cartels. Since early September, U.S. strikes against suspected drug vessels in the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean have killed dozens of people.
Tenemos un entendimiento.
It won't happen. We have a security agreement that we worked on for many months with the United States government, and we agreed on it when the Secretary of State was here. We will continue working within that framework, which has very clear principles stated at the beginning of the document: respect for our sovereignty, our territorial integrity, and collaboration and coordination without subordination of either state. So no, that's not going to happen.
And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In Poland, WaterSense, an AI-powered invention using paper sensors to monitor river health in real time, has won the Global Sustainability Prize at the James Dyson Awards. Developed by Philip Burdney, a PhD student, Warsaw University of Technology, powered by a micro hydro generator with solar support, it operates for long periods with minimal maintenance. An international workshop on the Thang-Long Imperial Citadel site, achievements and emerging scholarly issues after 15 years of research, took place on Tuesday at the National Museum of History in Vietnam. The event highlighted the site's outstanding significance and ways to interpret and promote the heritage value. A workshop at RMIT University in Melbourne is teaching design students how to make their garments feel, move and sound. To ensure inclusivity for the visually impaired, the students are learning to ensure fashion is not just about seeing, but also about feeling and hearing. And still to come on DD India News Hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India and Japan have agreed to work closely to implement the joint vision. INS Ikshak is all set to be commissioned on Thursday at Kochi. The ceremony would be presided over by the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh Kumar Tripathi.
Tell us whether the British were really interested in religion, or was this all about politics?
The British wanted to know as much about it as they could. But what they got was not necessarily a truly accurate reflection of the lived reality. It doesn't matter what your religion is as long as the man is good.
I cannot not ask you about the Kerala story, that contentious, controversial movie.
It really was not just propaganda, it was just blatantly false.
And you're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. In a turn of tide, Democrats win it big in key US polls post Donald Trump's second term. Trump pins blame on government shutdown that has entered its 36th day. Drone sightings impacting travel across European countries, resulting in closing down of airports and flight departures. Global markets face headwinds after a steep sell-off as market volatility surges. After tech-led sell-off on Wall Street heightened concerns over stretched valuations, particularly of the AI stocks. Bharat immerses in Guru Nanak Jayanti and Dev Deepavali celebrations with devotion and reverence. PM Modi extends greetings on the auspicious day. All right, going back to our top story now. In the United States, Democrats have made it big in key polls. What just happened? What backfired for Donald Trump? And what are the Americans thinking? Let's uncover this. Joining me on the broadcast today is Meera Shankar. She's former ambassador, Indian ambassador to USA. Ma'am, a very warm welcome to the broadcast now. To begin with, how do you assess this win by the Democrats? Is it the change of winds, do you see?
Well, I think certainly the New York mayoral race was historic because you have, everything ranged against Zohran Mamdani. He's a relative new newcomer, very young, he's a Muslim, and he had a leftist agenda focusing on people's welfare. But that seemed to resonate with voters in New York, which is facing a rising cost of living crisis. And so his laser-like focus on making New York more affordable for ordinary people, I think, evoked a response from voters. His agenda includes, providing free bus rides, free childcare.
I agree, ma'am, what you're saying. Ma'am, I agree what you're saying, but my question is that had there been someone else in place of Mamdani, the result would have been the same. Do you second this? Because it's the mindset of Americans now. How much the candidates matter?
I think candidates matter a lot. Okay. In this case, I think it was Mamdani who was able to effectively channelize the frustration of people at the rising cost of living.
Yeah, because the affordability was the central theme of the campaigning.
Yeah, he has also promised, as I said, to freeze rents, and have public housing, build public housing, so that the cost of renting or living in New York comes down. He's also promised to set up grocery stores in areas which are food deserts, which means where there are no proper grocery stores with fresh food or vegetables around. And this, he feels, will bring down the cost of groceries. Now, the question is, how is he going to fund some of his program? And he had promised tax increases on the ultra-wealthy, but the mayor of New York proposes the budget, and he can propose tax changes, but those changes have to be approved by the state senate, the assembly of New York, and by the governor of New York State, who sits in Albany. Now, Kathy Hochul, who is the governor of New York, is a Democrat and has backed Mamdani. But to what extent, he will be able to implement this agenda, he will need to now navigate both in terms of the hostility which the Trump administration has expressed towards him and the legal framework within which he has to function, which requires cooperation with the state of New York governor, the assembly there, and, in many cases, it's indirect, like freezing rentals in New York. He doesn't have the power to do it directly. There's a committee of 9 members. It's a rent guidelines board, but he gets to appoint those 9 members. So we have to wait and see. But definitely he's been a confident candidate who has not been afraid to assert his identity and to assert his political positions. He's not been diffident about them. And for a Democratic Party which has been divided over the agenda of the progressives, I think he probably will, if he succeeds or is seen as doing well, he will certainly lead to a somewhat more leftward shift in the Democratic Party's positions.
Definitely. But what message does this result give to the Republicans? Is it a warning sign?
I think in New York, it was more Mamdani's message, which is completely different to the Republican. And but in Virginia, for instance, where Mickey Sherrill, a lady, won the election. Sorry, that is New Jersey. In Virginia, it's Abigail Spanberger who won the election.
Yes.
And she flipped the results because it was previously ruled by a Republican governor. She focused a lot on an anti-Trump message. And it resonated because there are large numbers of government workers in Virginia. Trump has sacked about 200,000 government workers since taking over. And at the moment, many government workers are not getting paid or have been asked to go on furlough because of the shutdown of the US government for failure to pass the budget or a continuing resolution. So I think this resonated. You know, there are mixed things in the sense that Mamdani focused on his positive agenda, which is a non-Trump agenda, but to some extent it seeks to win back the working class, which had shifted towards the right, which had shifted towards Trump. New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill is winning. She's a Democrat. She is winning. It's the third term that the Democrats would be getting in a row. So though it's not a flip, it's unusual to see, you know, the same party winning for 3 terms. Now, this definitely 3 wins in a row definitely send a message. And it energizes the Democratic Party, which has been a bit dispirited in the wake of Trump's roller coaster.
All right, ma'am, we leave it there. Thank you so much for joining in on DD India News. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today said India and Japan have agreed to work closely to implement the joint vision for the next decade cooperation between 2 countries. Addressing the 8th India-Japan Indo-Pacific Forum, the minister said that both the nations have more responsibility towards Indo-Pacific. He added that the bilateral relationship responds to the changing global scenario, and that is reflected in the deepening of cooperation across multiple domains.
Maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific is a stronger imperative, but also a more complex challenge. Our bilateral relationship responds to the changing global scenario, and that is reflected in the deepening of cooperation across multiple domains. The recent conversation between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Takaichi, as soon as she assumed office, is testimony to the priority that we both attach to it. The visit of Prime Minister Modi to Japan in August significantly laid out the joint vision for the next decade. Its 8 priority pillars and the investment target of 10 trillion yen over the next 10 years are useful metrics to assess our ambition.
India's maritime capabilities are set to get a powerful upgrade. The Navy is all geared to induct a new state-of-the-art hydrographic survey vessel, one that will strengthen navigational safety and support missions across our seas. Let's take a look at the arrival of Ikshak, the latest addition to the Navy's survey fleet.
The Indian Navy is set to significantly boost its hydrographic survey strength with the commissioning of Ikshak, the 3rd vessel of the survey vessel class and the first to be based at Southern Naval Command. Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, will formally induct the ship into service at Kochi Naval Base on November 6, 2025. Built by Garden Reach shipbuilders and engineers in Kolkata, Ikshak stands as a powerful symbol of Atmanirbhar Bharat. With more than 80% indigenous content, the ship reflects India's growing shipbuilding capabilities. Named after the Sanskrit word of guide, Ikshak is designed to map both coastal and deep sea waters with high precision. The survey conducted by the vessel will help ensure safer navigation through ports, harbors, and key maritime routes. Packed with cutting-edge hydrographic and oceanographic technology, Ikshak is equipped with a high-resolution multi-beam echo sounder, autonomous and remotely operated underwater vehicles, and 4 survey motorboats. A helicopter deck further expands its operational flexibility. The commissioning of Ikshak marks a major stride in the Navy's mission to strengthen its survey and charting infrastructure. Ready to chart the unknown, this indigenously built vessel will play a frontline role in safeguarding India's maritime frontiers. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll show you DD India's exclusive chat with Indian Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Dr. Suhail Ijaz Khan. International Cricket Council confirms disciplinary actions on Haris Rauf, Surya Kumar Yadav and Jasprit Bumrah arising from the India-Pakistan fixtures during Asia Cup. Australia named 15-member Ashes squad for the opening test match against England in Perth later this month.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we decode Astra Mark II, why it is India's next generation air dominance weapon, what makes this missile a true game changer. We analyze the force multiplier in the sky, India's mid-air refueling aircraft and their critical role in sustaining air power. Finally, the infantry soldier gets a much-awaited close-quarter battle carbine, which is compact, precise and built for decisive close combat. We decode the Army Chief's words, preparing for the unknown. What does it reveal about India's evolving war-fighting mindset? Catch the sharpest analysis of strategy, firepower and future warfare this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Saudi Arabia is organizing Global Harmony Initiative. DD India correspondent Munmun Bhattacharya spoke exclusively with the Indian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Dr. Suhail Ijaz Khan, about India's culture in Saudi Arabia, his interactions with the Indian artisans, the embassy's efforts to promote Indian culture and future prospects of cultural and entertainment collaborations.
We are in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, where the Global Harmony Initiative is underway. This is like a celebration of cultures of various expatriate communities living here in Saudi Arabia, and Indian culture has been given a prominent place. Joining us now is Indian Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Dr. Suhail Ijaz Khan. Such a pleasure to have you, sir, here at the heart of what looks like a cultural festival. There is an India Week being celebrated. How does it feel? Why does India matter?
Over next 9 days, we are going to see Indian culture being celebrated here, from Bollywood music, from dances, from our artisans, from handicrafts, Indian food. So it's a beautiful celebration of Indian culture, and I'm so happy that all our Saudi friends are enjoying, and they are connecting with the Indian culture and appreciating the Indian culture here.
How was your interaction with the artisans? I saw a glimpse of a bangle being gifted to you.
It was amazing, and it was amazing how they can create a magic in 1 minute. They make these bangles with beautiful designs, and I think this has become also very popular among our Saudi friends.
How the Indian embassy here in Riyadh is promoting Indian culture in Saudi Arabia, and what is the kind of reception that you are getting to the promotion that you are doing of Indian culture?
We at the embassy also do a lot of cultural activities with our Indian community. In fact, we had 1 week long cultural event at our embassy, which just finished yesterday. We call it Pravasi Parichay. It is again a cultural extravaganza. It's a festival of India where all the Indian communities from various states, they come together and celebrate Indian culture. In fact, as part of that, yesterday we had a grand finale with the Gita Mahotsav, where we had a big musical performance on Bhagavad Gita.
Very recently we saw the three Khans from India together on one stage. So what is the kind of potential that we are really seeing in the entertainment sector when it comes to collaboration between India and Saudi Arabia? Because that is a glimpse which is rare.
All three were there together at the stage, and they spoke extensively about entertainment, about films, about how we can develop connections between Indian film industry and Saudi Arabia. there are possibilities of joint collaborations also. So, and in any case, Saudi people already love Bollywood. They know Bollywood very well, and Indian movies are extremely popular here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khan, for speaking to us on DD India. So that was an exclusive conversation with Indian Ambassador to Saudi Arabia on the close cultural connect that exists between India and Saudi Arabia and the possibilities going forward. With cameraman Pramod Negi, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Riyadh for DD India.
US stocks slumped sharply on Tuesday as warnings from major banks reignited fears of a pullback in overheated equity markets. All three key indexes sank deep into the red after the chiefs of Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs cautioned that valuations have become stretched, with the S&P 500 riding a streak of record highs on the back of the AI boom. Both the S&P and the Nasdaq logged their steepest one-day drop since October 10, as tech heavyweights, including most of the so-called Magnificent Seven, lost momentum. The jitters spilled into Europe on Wednesday, dragging shares to a two-week low. Investors stayed wary of elevated prices, while a weak outlook from Novo Nordisk added further pressure to the markets. And across Asia, volatility surged to its highest level in months. Japan and South Korea saw the sharpest swings, with high-flying technology names taking heavy hits before partial recovery later in the session. The turbulence underscored mounting concerns globally over just how high markets can climb. And in sports, the International Cricket Council confirmed disciplinary actions arising from the India-Pakistan fixtures, with sanctions imposed following hearings by the Emirates ICC elite panel of match referees. Pakistan pacer Haris Rauf has been handed a 2-match suspension for breaching the ICC Code of Conduct during the Asia Cup in Dubai in September. Rauf had come up with multiple provocative gestures during the Asia Cup clashes. Surya Kumar Yadav was fined 30% of his match fee and 2 demerit points. Surya Kumar was accused of making politically charged remarks after snubbing handshakes with Pak players. Meanwhile, Jasprit Bumrah's actions in the final were also sanctioned by the World Cricket Governing Body with 1 demerit point as well as an official warning. Australia on Wednesday announced its 15-member Ashes squad for the opening test match against England in Perth this month. Steve Smith will captain the team, replacing the injured Pat Cummins, with Travis Head as his deputy. 3 players, batsman Jake Weatherall and bowlers Brendan Doggett and Sean Abbott, will be making their test debut, with Weatherall a contender alongside Manas Labuschagne to open with Usman Khawaja. The all-rounders Cameron Green, who returned recently after back surgery, and Beau Webster will both don the baggy green alongside wicketkeeper Alex Carey and Josh Inglis as his reserve. Fast bowler Josh Hazlewood, spinner Nathan Lyon, and seamers Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland round out the squad. India's Varanasi, the city of Lord Shiv, where every festival becomes a celebration of devotion. But during Dev Deepavali, Banaras transforms into a mesmerizing sea of lights, with every corner of the city shimmering as if the stars themselves have descended to earth. Celebrated every year on Kartik Purnima, this festival is being observed today with great enthusiasm. Take a look at the report.
As the sun sets over the Ganges, Dev Deepavali, the festival of lights, illuminates the ghats of Varanasi. The beautification of the ghats and the Kashi Vishwanath Dham corridor project under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has made this historic celebration even more divine. Dev Deepavali means the Diwali of the gods. According to a belief, on this day, Lord Shiva killed the demon Tripurasura, and the gods lit lamps to celebrate Lord Shiva's victory. Every year, 2.5 million lamps are lit on the occasion. The Grand Ganga Aarti will once again be dedicated to the brave soldiers of India. The ghats of Kashi have been decorated with 21 quintals of flowers this year. On the occasion, 21 boys and 42 girls will perform the sacred Ganga Aarti. Under Prime Minister Modi's vision of Navya Kashi, this year's Dev Deepavali showcases a blend of tradition and technology. At Chet Singh Ghat, a Kashi Katha 3D laser show will narrate the story of Lord Shiva and Parvati's marriage, the devotional tradition of saints like Kabir and Tulsidas, and the founding of Banaras Hindu University, all through light and music. Additionally, a green firecracker show will illuminate the night sky with colors. Suya Sharma's report for DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted everyone on the occasion of Kartik Purnima and Dev Deepavali. May this divine occasion connected to Indian culture and spirituality bring happiness, peace, health and prosperity to everyone. May our sacred tradition associated with holy baths, charity, aarti and worship illuminate everyone's life. And also, the celebrations of Prakash Parv have started throughout the nation with enthusiasm on Wednesday. Devotees have been pouring in at Gurdwaras, paying obeisance to revered Saint Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Prakash Parv is celebration of birthday of revered Sikh Saint Guru Nanak Dev Ji. The Rakabganj Gurudwara, located in the national capital, is bustling with devotees singing devotional songs, offering ardas and participating in langar services. Delhi's Chief Minister Rekha Gupta and Parliamentarian Anurag Thakur visited Hari Mandir Sahib Gurudwara to offer prayers. Both leaders gave their greetings to the devotees on the occasion. In Amritsar, divine Jal Sahib illumination adorned Sri Darbar Sahib on Saint Guru Nanak Ji's Prakash Parv. The Golden Temple complex is abuzz with hundreds of devotees thronging the Gurudwara to offer prayers and to enjoy langar. The Gurudwara in Rajasthan's Dausa has also been decked up beautifully to mark the celebrations. On the occasion, Shabad Kirtan is being held along with a special langar fully prepared by women devotees. PM Modi extended greetings on occasion of Guru Nanak Jayanti. In social media post, he said, and I quote, "The life and message of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji continue to guide humanity with timeless wisdom. His teachings of compassion, equality, humility and service are very inspiring. Greetings on his Prakash Purab. May his divine light keep illuminating our planet forever."
उन्होंने सभी जातियों को एक समान बताया। महिला सशक्तिकरण पूरी दुनिया में गुरु नानक देव जी का प्रभाव स्पष्ट रूप से दिखाई देता है।
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.